Good evening, everybody. You are watching and listening to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. That's on Long Island, folks. You can catch Monty and the Pharaoh on the YouTube Monty and the Pharaoh page, Facebook Live on the Monty and the Pharaoh page, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Twitch TV, Monty and the Pharaoh page, RTF Sports Network every Friday, 6 to 7 p.m., with their anchor show. The repeat on Monday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., RTF Sports Network. Also catch us on Channel 115 every Tuesday from 8:30 to 9 p.m. and for early risers Saturday from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. Also catch us on Channel 20 Friday mornings on Channel 20. I'll repeat that again. That's Friday morning at 1:30 a.m. But this is also to talk about the opportunity of catching Monty and the Pharaoh on Anchor Network, where you can record and you can get your own podcast and do what Monty and the Pharaoh always dreamt to do and have this opportunity to bring out to you guys. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make your own podcast in one place. So once again, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. Catch us every Thursday, 9 to 10 p.m. And catch us here on Anchor. Have a good one.
Wow. I wish that was me. I got to go to work after this.
You're like maybe a hard cider.
I'm a hard cider?
Yeah.
What's Pharaoh?
Shirley Temple.
Shh. Don't say anything.
No, I won't say nothing.
Everybody, this is Gilbert!
And it's your boy James Ellsworth, and you're listening to Long Island's #1 wrestling podcast,
Monty
and the Pharaoh. Duh.
Not just dreaming it, we're doing it for it. Straight to the top. Working hard every day just to leave a better way.
Sick and tired of expectations. Don't wanna know about your scene. So can't you see that all your words are lost on me? I've been awake for this old dream. Still a man. I won't change 'cause you said so. Not again. No more lies, alibis, and I've let go. And I will be riding high. So don't confuse the conversation about who you are and need to be. Something to learn to light a fire, one must burn. Won't you take a look at me? Still the man. I won't change 'cause you said so. Not again. No more lies, alibis, and I've let go. And I will be riding high. Yes, I will be riding high. Yeah. Still the man. I won't change 'cause you said so. Take my hand, 'cause the past doesn't last. Better let go, and I will be riding high. Yes, I will be riding high. You can't get for each other.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen only here out of Indie Music TV. Here in Ronkonkoma, Long Island, at the board, as usual, is our super producer, Matt. How are you?
Great as always.
And to the right is the star of the show, still the man, Jimmy Farrow. Jimmy, how are you, brother?
Nice segue there, Mikey.
It's pretty good, right?
Man.
And that was off the cuff.
Look at you, Captain Improv. I'm proud.
Hello.
What's going on?
You are beaming right now, aren't you?
That sounded pretty cool on the headphones.
It does sound
I'm glad
cool.
I put the headphones on for that.
And
Nice. Thank you. Thanks for
in
playing
studio, we have our special guest, UWF, WWE, Florida Championship Wrestling Superstar, Mr. Sonny Beach. Sonny, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again.
And we have a surprise, well, not a surprise guest, but on the other line who we'll bring in shortly is your former tag team partner from Wet and Wild, Steve Ray.
Steve Wild Thing Ray from Kansas City, Missouri.
Man, oh man. When's the last time you guys have hung out with each other?
We hung out when we were doing The Dark Side of the Ring. Probably, when was it filmed? In November, maybe? Last November. So they flew Steve in to New York, and he came over to my offices, and we filmed over at my offices and at my house, and then went to the cemetery and stuff. So
Okay, cool. Well, we'll get into that once Stevie gets on the line. But before we get to you guys, I have a question that's really been troubling me, and I want two of you to weigh in.
Why am I worried already? But go on. What's your question? Go ahead.
The world is in an uproar. We all understand this. We're all having issues.
Yeah.
We all know what's going on.
Oh, sure.
But the thing I'm not understanding what's going on is what's the deal with these women not shaving their underarms?
What?
no.
What? This is your big question.
It is a huge question.
No wonder I was.
Have you
worried.
noticed that women have stopped shaving under their
Really?
underarms?
You know, I think women have stopped taking care of their maintenance. You know, like going to the nail salon and going to get their hair done. And I think they just gave up.
Wait
some
a
of it.
minute. They're not trying to keep it up at home. They just threw in the towel.
Some of them.
What are you saying?
My wife, she's good, but you know, I
Okay.
send her for maintenance every week. But you know,
But
some of these
let me-
other
let me
women,
ask
my
you,
wife, my
we're
daughter,
younger men,
my
we're-
family's good.
There's not something to brag. We're
We're
older
young-
guys, but just let's make believe we're young again, right?
Oh boy,
Yes.
let's make believe. Go on.
And you're at the bar.
Right?
See, I mean, throw some of those pictures up there, Matt, when you can. Madonna's daughter's there. You don't know she's Madonna's
Daughters,
daughter. Good-looking young lady.
Okay.
I
Beautiful.
bodyguarded her before.
You have.
Really?
I have.
But she's
Really?
got a bushel of hair under her arms.
What the?
Are you going up to that and saying, hey, what's up?
No.
You know what I'm doing?
What are you doing?
Wooly Bully! Watch out! Watch out now! Watch out! No, you won't. You won't sing Wooly Bully to them. Is that improper nowadays,
That's
there, Sonny?
improper.
Wow.
You gotta be politically
What the
correct.
hell, man.
So it doesn't matter how beautiful a woman is. If she's got hairy underarms, you're done.
No, hold on. Didn't I tell you the story last year when I worked the Grateful Dead Festival as security? Hey, security.
Right.
I worked the Grateful Dead Festival as security, and we were all hanging out. We were checking out the crowd, and this gorgeous woman starts twirling in her beautiful dress, and she's feeling the music, and it's, the drugs are working. Yeah, probably, but whatever. I'm assuming,
Right.
but I'm assuming the drugs are working. And, she throws her arms up to the sky. Here comes the solo. Dude, there was more shrubbery underneath those armpits. And the entire security squad just basically went to get food.
I mean, I know
like,
some of
wow.
those European women, they don't really shave or believe in shaving or deodorant and stuff.
Well,
But it's a turnoff to me.
When Stevie gets on the line, we'll talk about this too. But when you wrestled, didn't you shave your underarms because you didn't want the boys having to
Did
have
I?
crap in their mouth
To
and
be
whatever
honest
else?
with you, no, I never shaved my underarms.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I just used deodorant and I smelled sweet. But, no, I
Gee,
never
your
shaved my
pits
underarms.
smell
I'm a real
terrific.
man.
I shaved my underarms.
I never really shaved my underarms.
What?
Never shaved my legs. Never shaved my body.
Well, I don't.
Some of the
I'm not saying
bodybuilders
shave your
shave their body,
legs.
because they want to be all oiled up, and some of
Yeah.
the guys would shave. I think Macho Man and some of those other guys would shave down. Paul Roma, some of those guys, but they were more bodybuilder type guys, Warrior,
Oh, you shave
stuff
their
like
rectum?
that. They'd use the oil. And,
Dude, let's not underestimate what you look like.
Yeah.
When you were younger.
You're a big
Also,
dude,
okay.
man.
You
Still a
were
big
pretty
dude.
much a bodybuilder too. You were a big dude.
I
Not that
was
you're not a big
okay.
dude
I mean,
now, but you know
I'm
what I'm
old,
saying.
and I'm over the hill, and
Oy,
You're not over the hill.
oy.
But are we all in
on the
agreement
fence.
that we're not into girls that have a bushel of hair under their arm?
I've never been into hairy women, to be honest with you. No.
Do I have a choice if there's a line, chicks with no hair under their arms or chicks with hair?
Well,
Can I go
let's-
is it okay if I
so
go
we
to
don't
the
hang
chicks
on
with
the
no
subject
hair?
too much, but
Am I
I'm
a
saying-
bad guy if I go to the line with the chicks
Really
with no
hot
hair?
girl, really
underneath their
hot
arm?
girl
Yeah.
with hair under arms and hairy
Or-
arms and
Oh, now you're
legs.
going to make it interesting.
But
Now you-
good-looking girl,
Okay.
no hair under arms. Which way you going?
I thought you were going to give me 7,000 green teeth and
No.
verse.
You got to
good-looking
kind of
chick
have
with
them on the
hair.
side. We got to talk apples and apples here.
Well, if it's apples and apples, I'm going to go with the hair-free mode.
Yeah, so we're in agreement. Hair-free it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Monty DeFaro wants to thank the
It's
band
weird.
that sings
Weird.
the theme song, Aqua Cherry.
Yeah.
Our theme song, Straight to the Top. Also,
Yeah.
catch our other songs, Yes, Yes, Forever, and Seasons. Aqua Cherry music can be found on Spotify, iTunes, Reverb Nation, and where music is sold. And also, at the beginning of the show was the video premiere of Jimmy Farrow's band, the star of the show, Wisteria Hall, and his partner, Bart Griggs.
Wow.
Still the man.
That was
Actually, it's riding high,
good
but
rock
I
and
know
roll
still,
tune
man.
there.
That was a good rock and roll,
I was
too.
shocked when I saw Jimmy on there. I was like, "Whoa, what happened?" I thought he was
This guy doing?
Milli Vanilli at first, but
You thought you were
I was
Milli
getting into
Vanilli? What?
well, I didn't know. I thought it was
You
something.
thought I was-
Oh, you thought he was Milli Vanilli it.
I thought you were, maybe lip syncing. I didn't really hear it out loud, but
This guy is not just a great wrestling talent; he is a great musician.
What is going on here?
I didn't know that.
Vanilli
though.
get it?
I was
Did
shocked,
you hear that
pleasantly
guitar solo?
surprised. It was a
And I
pleasant
got
surprise.
Sonny, I'm going to send you.
Hey.
I'm going to email you links to their first album. Okay. In My Dreams,
Right?
Thank you.
This Life, which I guarantee, Sonny, you will love that song. Not Far Behind. Here Comes the Rain. And
Wow.
you can catch on. I'm going to send you that link.
I'm a rock and roll guy, and I got friends in 38 Special, Blue Oyster
Sure.
Cult. I
Oh,
used to
nice.
know Molly Hatchet, Skinner guys, Fog
Nice.
Hat. So a lot of guys, in rock and roll business I know and are friends with. So
Let's get Eric Bloom down here one night with you.
Eric
How's that
Bloom
sound?
loves wrestling.
Let's get him down here.
There's a couple guys that live out here. Jules Randolph, he's the drummer for
Sure.
Blue Oyster Cult. He lives
BOC,
out,
baby.
out here on Long Island. And Danny Miranda, he's their bass player. And they're just finishing up a new album. So I'm
Nice.
sure Eric and those guys would love to come down and
Boy,
be in
I would
studio.
love that, dude.
I know you.
I could probably make that happen for you.
I would love that.
You're the man, Sonny. Catch Wisteria Hall on Spotify, iTunes, and Reverb Nation. Monty DeFaro can be seen on YouTube, the Monty DeFaro page, Facebook Live on the Monty DeFaro page, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, Twitch TV, RTF Sports Network every Thursday from 8 to 9 p.m. and every Monday from 10 a.m. to 11. Channel 15 every Tuesday, 8:30 to 9 p.m. Early risers on Saturday, 6 a.m. to 6:30.
Him.
And then on Channel 20, catch us on Saturday mornings, 1:30 in the morning. So we're all over the place. But on the other line is your tag team partner, Steve Ray. But we're going to go to a quick commercial break, and we're going to get back to Wet and Wild Reunion.
Shall return. And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Jimmy, I just got the best hookup on tickets.
Fill me in.
I went to www.seatslinks.com and ordered the best tickets with the best prices.
Call 718-676-0504. SeatsLink, the complete ticket experience.
Tell them Charles sent you. In the mood for a freshly roasted cup of coffee? www.offtherailscoffeeroasters.com. All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Monty and the Pharaohs, seen every Thursday, produced out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma. All right, let's welcome our special guest, Wet and Wild, Mr. Sonny Beach, who's on the couch, and Steve Ray, who is on the video channel. Steve,
Wow,
you there?
Are you there?
I hear him.
Here.
There we go.
There.
What is that?
You know what that is.
Welcome to
You know what
the
that-
best of the Monty and DeFaro variety show, the #1 show on Long Island right now in New York.
Speak to us, Stevie. What do you got there? I thought I heard Curly in the room. Is this true?
Stevie, you're looking good, brother. You look good.
There he
Hey,
is.
man, what's up? First of all, let's start the show by #1 thanking the man above that this is even possible. So Thank you, Father. You get all the glory for this beautiful moment. Outside
Amen.
of that,
There you
I'd
go.
like to compliment you guys for a show that over and beyond. So you guys are doing some really cool stuff. I like it.
Well,
And I think
did you hear a conversation about women with hair under their arms?
Aye.
That's a great conversation. Now, you know that a big chunk of me is German, right? So that German side of me, it obviously knows that that's kind of a cool thing, you know. But I don't really understand it. The reason why we've got all of this gender dysphoria and everything going on to confuse people, to keep us all separated and divided for one purpose and one purpose only. That's the new world order, people. That's what it is. Get used to it. Either you fight it or you become part of it.
Well, if we're talking New World Order, look, we were hoping to get you guys for the big event in New York coming up, but they haven't canceled the event yet, but we're assuming they're going to cancel it. They canceled everything else in the world. I don't know why they haven't canceled it. I actually think that it's kind of unprofessional. They're hanging around trying to keep this thing going. I'm going to turn this over to the star of the show, Jimmy Farrow. He's going to hit you with the juice, and then we're going to start engaging in some wrestling conversation and whatever else hits us.
All righty, folks, get ready for a big tall glass of the juice. Our guest this week, we are featuring Sonny Beach, the surfer boy gimmick, complete with a neon green wetsuit and surfboard. Alan wrestled Bob Orton, as we know. Near the end of the bout, Orton's manager, Coach John Tolos, began attacking Alan while the referee was distracted and saw Stevie Ray and came to Alan's rescue. Cactus Jack followed Ray into the ring moments after, resulting in a four-way brawl. Of course, this led to a legendary UWF feud. And by the way, for you folks out there, you know who won that feud, don't you? The guy sitting on the couch and the guy on the phone. That's who won that feud. That's right. Yes, there's so much for Bob Orton and the great Cactus Jack. So much. Of course, they were dubbed Wet and Wild by the legendary Captain Lou Albano during an interview on Captain's Corner. Captain's Corner? Captain Lou's Corner.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are two of the most important, integral parts of the great Herb Abrams UWF. Ladies and gentlemen, Sonny Beach and Stevie Ray.
Yeah, baby.
Wow, I never had an introduction like that before.
Thank you.
I'm really excited, man. I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time. So, can you, either one of you start discussing between yourselves or tell the fans out there, how does Wet and Wild, we understand that Captain Lou kind of names you guys, but how does it become the team?
Well, they were looking for tag teams, with UWF. They had the Power Twins, the Killer Bees.
Nice.
They were looking for a babyface tag team, and they wanted to put me and Steve together. They thought we could draw some money, and we looked good together. We gelled together, and people thought it would take off, and it did. They had Steve Dr. Death Williams, Terry Gordy. They were tagging a little bit. We wrestled them a couple of times in the UWF, me and Steve. So we had, some great matches. Warlord, Barbarian, they were coming around a little bit after they left WWF. So we wrestled some of the biggest names in the business, in the tag league. Bob Orton and Cactus, Beach Brawl, excuse me. And we had great matches. So, they wanted us to be a tag team, and they thought they could do some good business with us. So that's why we were chosen, I guess.
Stevie, how'd you feel about being hooked up with Sonny as a tag team partner?
Interesting enough, I can honestly say that you'll never, ever hear me say one negative thing ever in my lifetime about my tag team partner. I'm very happy. We're not just gelling, but we're extremely loyal to each other. Even when there's been that disconnect, when I chose to be a father and I got out of wrestling for a period of time, I needed that focus on my family, and having that itch would be right there if I kept that flame going. So Sonny was really the most incredibly best support system for me on that ever. And he knew, so the moment that I decided to come back out, talk to the fans, I was just freaking amazed on how many people people even knew us. I mean, it's just the wrestling fans. If you serve them like they serve you, you are always going to be wanted and liked. But it's really important that people understand that, especially wrestlers, coming into the business right now, this time. It's love your fans, man. Serve them and serve them well. Understand that you've got a purpose, but that purpose starts with them. You might have self-expression. That's awesome. I love that about this business. But the most important thing, don't sell your soul. Don't sell your soul because they'll know that you have.
Sonny, did you
the
guys have
fans
to
are the
work
most
hard
important thing we have, that back us up. They're the ones that pay to see us. They're the ones that buy our merchandise. They're the ones that support us the most, and you got to give back. And I'm a firm believer in always giving back.
How was the chemistry naturally between you two?
It was good. We gelled. Everything worked out pretty good. I wish Steve lived a little closer where we could have, spent more time in the ring and, getting some more ring time together and practicing our moves and coming up with some better, finishes and stuff like that, but it just didn't work out. They would just throw us into the matches, and when Steve would fly in from Kansas City, he had his gym and his supplement business he was running, Power Shack International, so he didn't have a lot of time to come in, and I was working a day job, and until I was working full time with UWF or whatever promotion I was with, but you still had to pay your bills and feed your family, and Steve's 100% right. He got out of the business to start a family and to support his family, and I got out of the business to support my family and do better in life, because you don't have a long run in wrestling unless you're one of the top guys.
Now, when you got hooked up,
I will say one thing. I mean, from my behalf, is that I was a young, impressionable, talent that I felt. When I came into the UWF, I'm literally around all these WrestleMania 3 superstars. Okay? These are giants. These are truly the giants of professional wrestling. Now, I'll give it to The Rock, and I'll definitely give it to Randy, for sure. And there's more out there, but listen, that right there, that was the persona of professional wrestling. And here's this kid, from a small town of a class of '88, I think, that is fresh and new, and I have to have confidence to be able to feel as if I even deserve to be beside some of these guys. And that was a hard thing to take, but I didn't make it. I just dug deep and I made it real. So that's with Sonny. What Sonny did for me is Sonny was like my rock. He kept me. It was like a gravitational pull with Sonny. I always felt like he kept me balanced. So that's the best thing I can tell you about my partner.
Sonny, how helpful was it having your experience with the WWE by the time you got to Herb Abrams? Obviously, Stevie is saying what a help you were.
Well, Steve, he makes a lot of sense, because when I first started WWF, I was in starstruck too.
Sure.
Because I worked some of the territories, Florida Championship, Dusty, Barry Windham, Ric Flair, Kevin Sullivan, all those guys in there, the Briscoe brothers, B. Brian Blair. There was just so much talent down there. And I grew up watching them, from 5th or 6th grade. I knew I wanted to be a pro wrestler or a policeman. So I pretty much had in my mindset, this is what I want to do for a career. So I studied that, and then when I got to the WWF, Hogan, like No Holds Barred, I'm there with Stan Hansen, Philman, Terry, and all the guys, and then my first TV, Andre the Giant, Macho Man, the list goes on and on. There were so many guys, Don Morocco, Roddy Piper, Ken Patera, Tito Santana, Greg Valentine. You just name any type of superstar that you grew up watching for the last 15, 20 years on TV. And here's a young kid, 23, 24 years old like I was. I was the same way. Like when Steve came into the UWF, when I went to the WWF, first couple of TV tapings, you got 60 of the world's best wrestlers in the same locker room. You're sharing a locker room with you, and you're driving down the roads with them and sharing hotels. They welcomed me, and they took care of me like I took care of Steve, when he came in. I gave him some pointers, and, I said, hey, maybe we should do it this way. And I wouldn't tell him what to do. You got to be creative. And you don't want to kill somebody's gimmick or whatever they're all about.
You mentioned you were both young at the time. Any reservations when you're approached with the idea of becoming a tag team? Stevie Ray, what say you? Were any reservations? Did you want to be a single star? Were you like, okay, a tag team? Any reservations from either of you early on in your career?
Well, on my behalf, when the moment came around, it really was a no-brainer. I mean, it was definitely a perfect fit. Mm-hmm. I've wrestled in other tag teams before, but they didn't have the balance that this one definitely had. We hit a demographic, and that demographic exactly what and who we were all about. We were about the women. We were about having a good time, and we were about kicking some ass. And so, it was a little more than, leisure. It was some tough work and hard training to get through. But, Sonny and I, we were just hitting that prime of gelling in a way where, what am I saying? We had other networks or other wrestling promotions that picked up on our stuff. And when I look at the shows and the tapings that they did of us, we looked good. I really thought, on the tapings that I've seen, they've all been really, spectacular. They had great color, great charisma. Our matches we started to get more machismo, I guess, if you want to talk about it.
The magazines, other promoters were calling up looking for us all the time. Global Championship Wrestling down in Texas with Joe Pedicino. Mm-hmm. They wanted us to come down. I had a personal relationship with Joe, and they called me up, and he goes, hey, I'd like to bring you and Steve Ray in, for our tag team tournament down there. So Herb Abrams told them after we got down there that we were under contract with him, which we weren't. Mm. So they kind of put a squash on us, and they were going to give us a nice little push in Global. Yeah. But after Herb called and he threatened them with legal action, they didn't want any part of that.
Now, you were more seasoned vet where Steve was more green, right?
Yeah, I had a few more years in the business.
So how did that work out? Was that a hard balance for you and Steve at all?
Not at all. I mean, I treated Steve the way I'd treat anybody else, a seasoned vet or not. And, we had a few differences once in a while about, who was going to start in a match or what we were going to do and stuff. But, we worked things out, and everything worked out for the best. We used to work against the Power Twins a lot. We had great matches with them. The Blackhearts down at Universal Studios, Dave Heath and Tom Nash, managed by Luna. We had really good, chemistry, I think, and we could have done a lot more things. And I was just hoping that Herb would have been a better promoter or had more money to really finance the UWF like he should have, and maybe he shouldn't have partied like he did and all that stuff. But, we'll never know.
Well, Steve, here's a question for you. You're working with Sonny, more seasoned vet. Was there any time you would get jealous or that kind of situation?
No, honestly, not at all. I would probably say one of the things that may have even gotten me heat is maybe a little overconfident. I couldn't let any insecurities or any of that ever affect the character and who I was as a performer, because that would actually even get somebody hurt too. I didn't want my ego to be part of my thinking. So no, not at all. One of the things that a lot of my fans, or a lot of the fans of Wet and Wild, don't even know is that I wrestled in Kansas City under All-Star Wrestling. I think it started in 86 or 87. And my first 88 matches, I went undefeated. And then my tag team partner at that time, Bulldog Bob Brown, he turned heel on me. So that was the change of my longest run, I guess, of being undefeated.
Let's get to the big question. I guess we'll go with you first, Sonny, because you knew her, but you worked with him in the office and everything. Right. Can you both tell us your first time meeting the legendary Herb Abrams?
Well, I met Herb at the Weekend of Champions with John Arizzi when he was putting one of those autograph shows, a big convention over at the Guardia Hotel. That was the first time I guess he came to New York, and Georgiana Acropolis, she was in charge of the Wrestling Chatterbox. She had her own newsletter and all that stuff. And back then, we didn't have a lot of social media. There was no Facebook. There was no, all these other internet forums of wrestling and all that stuff before the fans could get on there and stuff. So you had like Dave Meltzer's little sheet. Yeah, Georgiana Acropolis, the Wrestling Chatterbox.
Has that pain in the ass always been around, Meltzer, by the way?
He's been around a long time.
Pain in the ass.
As long as I can remember. As long as I've been in the business, he's been
Captain
around.
Captain Kvetch. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, he's been around.
Okay. Yeah, that's all he does.
But that's the first time I met Herb with John Arizzi, and Georgianne introduced me to him. Bruno Sammartino introduced me to Herb, and they told him good things about me, and he said he wanted to use me with the UWF. And at first, he just wanted me to work singles, and I didn't mind working singles, but when he came to us and said they wanted to do the tag team with Steve, and I liked Steve, and I thought it was a great idea, and whatever was best for business, and they were going to give us a big push.
He clearly thought very highly of both of you. Stevie, how about you the first time you met the legendary Herb Abrams?
It was literally magical. Okay, I toured with the most awesome, incredible human being that you'll ever meet. That's B. Brian Blair. Okay. And so, B. Brian Blair, we were wrestling in Vegas at the time, and he said, "Hey, don't tell anybody, but we're going to go to Beverly Hills tonight." What? I said, okay, I'm game. And so he said, I got a big surprise for you. So we drove there. I'm not asking any questions. I'm just enjoying the ride. And, pull up to Herb's house. And, here comes this ball of energy. And I just got this big smile on my face. And he goes, who's this guy? And, he does the introduction, and he just kept on saying, I like him. And I'm going, okay, cool. Can I get a job? And so anyway, they brought me in. It was, that at my age at that time was what I needed. That was the confidence I rode on. It was, this guy believes in me. So I don't want to, I don't want to let him down. I want to, be the performer that he wants me to be. And then it went from him to the fans, and then, Sonny, and you don't want to let the people down who have talent. So that was an important thing. That's what drove me as well.
Stevie, you were very flamboyant. Did you develop the flamboyancy even more with Herb? You're saying he gave you confidence, obviously. Is this where you shot into the stratosphere as far as your inner confidence as a performer?
Well, okay, listen. I'm not kidding you when I'm telling you this. I was literally born with this, and I'll give you an example of why.
Modest, too. Go on.
At the age of 2, my mom had left out her birth control pills, and I took them all. I just popped them and put them in my mouth and swallowed them. So I got rushed to the emergency room.
Oy.
They go to they can knock me out. So they give me as much medicine as they would give a full-grown adult. They said, we just can't put him to sleep. And so my mom said, just take your fingernails and rub it right there, or gently touch right by his forearm. It'll go right out. That's what I did. So the moment I woke up, the very first thing I asked for was a brush and a comb, or a comb and a mirror. At 2 years old. So it went from that to I was a military brat, being in the bowling alley at 4 years old, and I'm going around flirting with the chicks, asking if they'd buy me a hanky burger, and I get the girl. I'm not kidding you. So I don't, why, how it all happened. It just seemed like the gift I just kept running with all my life. So I could gain a curse, a gift and a curse. I will say that. But this is the funny story. So you want to talk about this confidence? You'll really enjoy this. So my first big, hurrah in Kansas City Memorial Hall TV. The whole town of Leavenworth and Lansing comes to the match. It's practically sold out. And my first match is with Doc and nobody's telling me nothing. I don't know anything. Nothing. I don't know anything other than I'm wrestling this guy who knocks somebody's eardrums out for asking wrestling to get over the thing. And so, I'm kind of losing a little bit of my confidence. You'll love this part. One of the things that I saw that wasn't happening in wrestling, the wrestlers didn't know. They didn't know what their true value was. So I negotiated a deal with the limo company. I'll wear your shirt if you escort me around in a limo. So I got a limo to take me to Memorial Hall. All the other wrestlers are driving in the cars to get a park, and here comes this new kid in a freaking limo, and his first big hoorah match is tonight. So you can imagine, Harley Race was there. A whole little horde of people were definitely there. I can't remember all the talent, but so I get out there and I lock up with him, and literally my knees were like ready to give. And thank God from that point, there was communication link, and I ended up getting over that night. So it was it was something that has been with me since the very beginning. I don't regret it. To be quite honest with you, I have, outside of professional wrestling, I've been just the opposite. I've been almost too humble in a way where I'm always wanting to, do good through my relationship. I'm nothing like the character Wilding. More like, the person who wants to succeed in a relationship and be successful, having a family. And so it's a whole different, I don't take that character with me as the person who I am. So, it's a separation thing. If you get to talk to Ric Flair and understand he's complete, actually, there's a lot of similarities between him and who he really is as a person. However, there's also, they're all beautiful things. He's a very incredible man to watch his people. So, all kudos go out to Mr. Flair. And I really loved what Ric Flair said to Randy Orton. I thought that was a class act thing. I like seeing things like that. I like seeing where wrestlers are giving back to the business, making the rights pool bigger for all the other entertainers that are wanting to get into it. So that was an awesome thing for me.
All right, Steve, we're going to ask you to hold on. We're going to go to take a quick commercial break.
We shall return. That's right, folks. Canine Corral for all your dog daycare and overnight care. Call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544.
You need a body shop? You need engine repair? Auto Excellence. Collision Specialists. 631-261-6420. That's 631-261-6420. Auto Excellence. Jimmy, I gotta take a dump.
What?
No, I mean I need a dumpster.
Well, for all those needs, you need to call Big V Dumpster Rental, Long Island, New York, 631-900-DUMP.
We got to shoot a commercial. Welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestler broadcast. Monty the Pharaoh, seen only here at Indie Music TV, producer Ron Cochran in New York. Sonny was just saying he needs some good fucking water. I said, in fact, we gotta shoot a commercial for that. I gotta do that.
I'll shoot that one.
So we were talking about Dark Side of the Ring, guys. In studio is Mr. Sonny Beach, one half of Wet n Wild, and on the V-Mix is none other than Stevie Ray. Guys, thank you for joining Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Stevie, I just learned something.
What?
So, in watching Dark Side of the Ring, you're sitting there, you're talking about the UWF, and the one thing I was consistently thinking about is, boy, does Stevie Ray love that white poodle. So I thought it was your white poodle, but I just found out that that was Sonny's dog. What's the deal?
My little Emma.
Sonny, really? That was my entertainment for the night. So that's how Sonny hooked me up.
Oh.
And it's the dog with the long toenails.
With the long toenails?
Yeah, the producer, he's very particular about the sounds and everything that could affect the show. So if the dog went to go, potty or get a drink, he was like, hold it, stop. So I said, let me hold him, because he had a little itchy get up and walk around a lot that time. So it turned out to be a good thing, actually.
Yeah, the dog was running around, and the producer, Evan, he was kind of like, we got to keep it down. And then if I would have locked the dog in the room, she would have started barking or howling, and it would have been worse. So Steve picked her up and calmed her right down. And
we just ruined kayfabe.
Steve's got, a special way with animals and young children.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, my God.
Wow. I don't even know how to answer that one.
He scratches their bellies and they go right to sleep.
What is that? What is that movie with the doctor with the
that scratches bellies and people go to sleep?
Oh, the dog whisperer?
No, man. The
Dr. Doolittle?
No, not Dr. Doolittle. You know, the guy, like with the small guy with the bald head and
Austin
Powers.
Austin Powers.
Yeah,
so Steve's like Austin Powers, like the bad guy. Austin Powers petting the dog and calming the dog down.
Is that Dr. Evil?
Yeah, Dr. Evil.
Dr. Evil.
We're gonna call Steve Dr. Evil.
Steve's Dr. Evil.
Steve is Dr. You killed kayfabe. I thought it was his dog. Anyway, Mike, next question.
You're on, brother.
Oh, I'm on. I thought you wanted to ask them how they were both approached for the second season of Dark Side of the Ring.
No.
No? You don't want to ask them?
That's easy.
We just went into the dog conversation.
Oh, so it's more important about the fucking dog.
Yes.
You're weird, bro. Anyway.
My dog Emma appreciate this.
let me ask both of you about, one of the things I took out of Dark Side, especially, there's two things that really struck me very emotionally, as my partner knows I'm a pretty emotional guy myself.
No.
Yeah, really.
I can see
terrible?
that. I can see that.
Hey, probably make a lousy security guard. Anyway. There's the...
Emotional guys.
yeah. I've always been that way. I've always been that way since the age of 2, Stevie. We could talk about that later. Anyway, there's two major scenes that really got me. One, of course, is the graveyard scene with Sonny. That gets me every time. But also the scene where Stevie is basically in tears talking about Herb. Can I ask you both, whoever wants to go first, go for it. We'll flip a coin.
Let Steve go first.
Okay, Steve, how emotional do you get when you feel about Herb, and can you describe the feelings that you feel about Herb in general, besides what we saw on Dark Side, because that was very moving? Your thoughts on Herb?
Yeah, to be quite honest with you, that was truly the very first time that I cried. All the other times, it was, oh shit.
What happened? The dog got in the room? You right there, Steve?
Steve, you all right? All right, well, no dead
Somebody
air.
hit him with a flying headlock. What's going on?
Maybe something happened.
Sonny, what you do?
How about you,
right
Sonny?
here.
How about you in the graveyard? Like, you were pretty emotional. That is a pretty...
Well, the graveyard scene, I was there for the burial. I was there with his mother and his family and everything. So, that was, pretty emotional for me because I went back and relived it. I was there. I threw dirt on his grave. I was at the services. I sat Sheva with him. Herb's Jewish.
Sure.
If you didn't know that already.
Yep.
But I went back to his family's home and we ate and sat Shiva and everything. And last week I went out with his first cousin, Steve Simon. I still keep in touch with him. So, I still have a pretty good, relationship with the Abrams family. It just, hits home because he was very nice to me and my family. Did he bounce some checks to me? Yeah. Did he make good for them? Yeah. But, a lot of people hold that against him, He was, doing his thing. He was trying to make a promotion, I guess, the best it could be with limited resources. Plus, his partying didn't help the promotion, and he didn't have a booker, and he didn't have really the backing and back office to really make it work. But I give him credit for trying. And, going back to the cemetery and reliving, somebody you were close with getting buried, it's not easy,
Did you and Steve party with Abe at all?
Did we party?
With
Herb. Did we
I never partied with Herb. I mean, I might have had a couple of drinks with him, a couple of beers here and there. I wasn't a big partier. Steve might have partied more than me, but you have to ask Steve. I was a family man. I still am a family man, so I really didn't, hang out after the shows and go party. And, I always went back to the hotel room, or maybe I'd go get something to eat.
So who were the boys that used to go party with Herb?
Who were some of the boys?
Yeah.
Did he have anybody he would regularly go party with, or was he more just about the girls and doing his own thing?
He pretty much partied on his own, to be honest with you. He would do it in the privacy of his own hotel, or there was a few boys that would party with him and stuff. Maybe Colonel Red was maybe one of them that he hooked him up that time when he went out to California. Okay. Maybe some of the other guys that were single or something maybe hung out and partied with him. But Herb was very generous. He had a great sense of humor. He was fun to be around. He was like people wanted to be around with Herb. And when Herb died and I called a lot of the guys up, they were all breaking down and crying to me, and I was crying to them. And, it's not a bad thing for a grown man to cry, especially, if you cared about somebody. And, I felt bad for him. And when I called Lenny Duke up, I cried. And, and when I was at his wake, in his funeral services, me and my wife, we both cried. So, you wouldn't be a human being if you didn't have feelings for people.
Sure. I feel that it's been a fantastic thing that they made the Dark Side episode featuring him, because so many people deserve to hear the story of the UWF. However, you being on the inside during those days, what's your feeling on the accuracy of the documentary itself?
I think it could have gone longer.
Okay.
I think Steve Simon should have been interviewed, and maybe some of Herb's family. They were interviewed, but they weren't put onto the tape. It didn't make the cut. So I don't know what happened. Maybe they could show some extra footage coming up or some extra scenes.
Were you overall pleased with the final presentation?
I
thought it was fantastic.
I don't think they buried him.
Okay.
They made fun of him, about his partying and Colonel Red, and Brian Blair's got probably the best one-line saying. It's like, Herb went out, doing the two things he did best. Hookers and cocaine. So. If that's what he wanted to do, who am I to judge? Who are we to judge anybody?
Right.
And now look at all this coronavirus and people losing their jobs, people not opening up in New York City. A lot of people are suffering right now, and people are telling me, wait till after election, things will get better. Some people can't wait. There's homeless people right now. There's people starving in the streets. I mean, it's terrible what's going on in the country today.
Do you think the country could recover?
I don't know how long it could recover. We're America, and we're strong, and we're resilient, and this is the greatest country in the world. So I think we can recover, but it's got to start from the top and work its way down. You got to find a vaccine. You got to have good leadership, and you got to help people.
So I don't want to get too political, right? Again, but do you think that this whole situation was mishandled, or do you think it was handled the best way possible?
I think it's handled. I don't know. I mean, I think it could have been handled a little bit better, but I think that they're doing the best they can with what they know how to work with, because people are afraid. I had coronavirus, so I know how bad it was. I still don't want to go out. I still wear a mask. I still social distance. My family, the same thing. I don't have parties at my house. This summer, I mean, I've spent more time at home and swimming in my swimming pool by myself, having cookouts with just me and my immediate family, and maybe one or two close friends or another couple. But we sit 6 feet apart, and we try to do the right thing. But
you made me stay by the mailbox. That was terrible.
Yeah,
don't do that again.
I brought you guys some masks tonight,
yeah,
too.
You did. I can't wait to wear them.
Yeah.
You guys
the mailbox.
like them.
Got a hot dog, too.
But
so if anyone doesn't realize,
Stevie
accidentally, something must have happened with his computer equipment. He just texted me. He's trying to get back on.
Okay, fair enough.
So, Sonny, you're going to carry the load, my friend.
Not a problem. Let's ask all the questions.
You're always good at carrying the load. So,
what you got?
What you
Kamala
got for me?
Oh, just passed away. Yeah. You work with Kamala at all?
I did work with Kamala when I used to promote some shows. Me and Paul Orndorff worked a big show in Staten Island at Jewish Community Center, and I booked it and I promoted it and everything, and we were the main event that night. I brought in Kamala, and I brought in Kamala too, Ben Peacock and James Harris, and then I brought in the Haiti Kid as their midget manager, Sky Low Low. You know, like the
nice.
what would you call him? I think we called him Too Low, you know, or something. And it was in a couple of wrestling magazines, and it was filmed for Staten Island cable TV over there. And they're still showing the matches. When the first match that I promoted there with me and Cactus Jack over there, and John Rizzi was the ring announcer, and Frankie Longo, and we had some really, really good matches over there at Staten Island Jewish Community Center. I was the first one to bring in Sabu to New York. Sabu wrestled my first card over there.
How was Kamala as a person, James?
He was a great guy. James was a great guy. I wrestled with him a little bit in WWF. He didn't wrestle too much with us in UWF, but when I did some single shows and when Tommy D did some shows with Universal Wrestling Superstars, he would bring in Kamala. I wrestled him a couple of times with Tommy D. So, I mean, we had good matches. He was just a great guy, good old country boy, Mississippi.
So, in the WWF back then, was Kamala, was he there when you were there?
He was there in and out a few times. Like, I was there from like 88 to like 91, 92, you know, and he came in a couple of times and stuff for another run.
Well, we don't have to speak about Kamala. Let's just talk about Hogan, right? You've mentioned a few times that as a wrestler, you always wanted to be on Hogan's card, right? Because that's where the money came.
Oh, yeah. Whenever you were the top guy and the main draw and stuff, and your purses were based on, you know, the revenue from the house shows. So if you had a good house show, a sold-out show like Madison Square Garden, you would make a good payday. And especially an up-and-coming guy like me, you know, I guess what they call enhancement talent or, you know, a up-and-coming guy. Some weeks with WWF, I make $5,000, $6,000.
So I'm going to bounce this at you then. So we've had, you know where we stand with the WWE, right? We stand with Vince, and, you know, to me, Vince, by the way, Vince McMahon, happy birthday.
Wow.
74 years, a couple of years ago.
Happy birthday, Vince.
I have a
Vince
huge
McMahon.
admiration for Vince McMahon, always have. I understand how he runs his business. A lot of people don't necessarily agree. They think that he takes advantage of the wrestlers. I know you pretty well now. We've spoke, you know, on personal life and wrestling life. But I guess my point to you is, a couple of weeks ago we did a tribute to Kamala. Lanny Poffo was on, and Lanny was pretty much saying, hey, didn't matter how much money Kamala made, he was going to burn through it anyway, or James Harris was going to burn through it. To get to the point, Hogan's the guy.
Right.
Did you hear any guys that wrestled against Hogan in the main event bitch and moan about their payoff for the match?
A lot of guys, you know, they're like washwomen. They bitch and moan, and they don't care how good they got it. A lot of guys had it better than most guys. I mean, they were the ones that would bitch and moan the most, you know. Like Lanny Poffo said, it didn't matter how much money somebody made, they're always going to bitch about it. Some guys saved their money. Some guys squandered their money. Some guys got divorced. Some guys partied it all away. I mean, you got to save for a rainy day, and some of these guys didn't. And a lot of these guys, you know, Vince gives you an opportunity to make money. If you're making money for him and drawing money for him, he's going to keep you around. If you're not drawing, you're not going to be there for long. So it's your choice, and if you get a good push, and if they like you, and if the fans get behind you, you know, look at The Rock, look at John Cena, look at Triple H, look at Undertaker, Mick Foley. Fans got behind all these guys. Ric Flair, Sting, the list goes on and on. Road Warriors. There's only a handful of guys. I could count on both hands guys that are successful that made a lot of money in this business. That's it. The rest of them, some of them did okay, some of them did very good. If they saved your money, if you didn't go out and party and burn it out, you're not staying at the $500 Marriott Marquis every night, and you're staying at a Motel 8 where you're paying, instead of $500 a night, you're paying $50. You're saving your money, and you're having a roommate. Maybe you got a guy like Barry Horowitz or somebody, you know, you split a room with, and you travel on the road and you split your rent-a-cars with. So you're splitting expenses. You're saving money.
Is it an extremely... All right, so you got to work in life. Everybody has to work in life.
Right.
Some of us have it really good. Some of us don't have it so good, but you got to work to survive. Is Is professional wrestling that hard of a profession?
It is hard. Because when I first started out, nobody taught me how to save money. Nobody taught me, save for a rainy day. Nobody taught me the politics of the business. You had to learn that on your own. Who was a kiss ass, who was a stooge.
How about your day-to-day stuff? So I get that, right? In life, there's politics.
Right.
Hopefully mommy and daddy taught us all how to put our money away, and if they didn't, or if we didn't listen,
you got to play nice
wrong.
in the sandbox,
Right. But as a wrestler, right?
Right.
My theory, and put me in the wrong place, but my theory is, hey, you travels can wane down on you. I totally get it.
Traveling will beat you down. That was half the battle.
That I could imagine. But the actual wrestling itself, I'm sure, is tough, but it's not a long night, right? It's like you get in there.
It is a long night because by the time you travel, sometimes you have to drive from town to town.
Sure.
You're driving hundreds of miles to get to the next destination. Mm-hmm. And then you get in the arena maybe 5, 6 o'clock. You get something to eat before you go and wrestle, or you bring your food with you to the arena. Then you wait till bell time, usually 7:30, 8 o'clock at night when the show starts.
Vince
then you
did
have
pay you
5
well,
or 6 matches, and you have your intermission, sell gimmicks, and then you go out there and you got maybe 1 or 2 main events for the night. So you have maybe 7 or 8 matches. That's what we used to have with the WWF. And then you're out of the arena by usually 11 o'clock. By the time you shower, go back to your hotel room, get something to eat, maybe go to the bar, get a 6-pack. Maybe you're traveling to the next town that night, checking into a hotel and then sleeping a few hours and doing it all again. Sometimes we would be on the road 2 weeks on, 3 days off, 3 weeks on, 2 days off. I mean, they were running us ragged, and you're wrestling.
Hey,
there's
by the way, you know what's
365
funny?
days a year, you might be wrestling over
Until
300.
Stevie gets back on, we could just take our headphones off because I think we could hear each other.
That sounds good to
Wait,
me.
you don't like that echo?
I'm thinking, until producer says Stevie's back, we'll just take that.
You know what I don't get, though? Can I get this out?
Go ahead.
Because this is to me the bottom line. Pro wrestling, just like every other, and I consider it definitely athletic and a sport in my own mind. That's just the way I feel about it, okay? So pro wrestling to me is no different. Okay, I'll use the 77 Yankees as an example. It seems like the indie marks are all freaking out because Hulk Hogan made all this money and Kamala only made this money. Well, last I checked, the 77 Yankees, Reggie Jackson was Hulk Hogan.
Right.
And Bucky Dent is Kamala. How is Bucky Dent going to get paid what Reggie's going to get paid? He's not worth what Reggie's worth. You know what I mean? So to me, it's the same thing. Patrick Ewing make more money than Anthony Mason, period.
Nobody puts a gun to your head when you go to Vince.
Well, thank you for that, too.
And tells you, okay, you're going to make this. You agree upon it. He's going to offer you something. You could either say yes or no.
Right.
Nobody puts a gun to your head and say, you got to take this.
Ali made more money than Frazier, I'm assuming, right? Should Frazier be bitter? I mean,
so how does it work, Sonny? Give me the inside, right? You're a guy, you get signed by the WWE, or...
Everybody's deal is different. Usually, they'll offer you a contract and it's exclusive, where you got to, wrestle for the WWF. You can't wrestle any for other promotions. You can't make any appearances. You're tied in. You're locked in for X amount of years, or whatever time frame.
So let me cut you off there then. You're basically saying you're working for this. So then, how are you an independent contractor?
That's what I've never understood that either.
Mm-hmm.
You're not an independent contractor. You're a contracted athlete. Same like the Yankees when they sign you to a contract. You got to be there. You got to work.
But
for
you
it.
didn't have guaranteed money, right? They said, hey, you could work for us.
It was a percentage of the house or the gate. A lot of times you could work for us.
Could you be cut at any time and be out of luck?
Yeah, they could cut you at any time. I got cut.
That is different.
And
that's different from baseball.
Back
so
can't get away with that in baseball.
I've been in logistics a long time, so we used independent contractors. So it was when you delivered our merchandise, you had to have our brand,
right?
And they had to have specs and everything else, and we were willing to put those on your truck for a small cost, but it wasn't like decals that you could rip off.
Exactly.
So then if you went to deliver someone else's merchandise, you had to go through a whole rigmarole to do that. And then if you got caught delivering something that you were supposed to be delivering on our time, it became... So I kind of think the WWE falls into that same kind of window. Like, I'm sure the agreement, and tell me if I'm wrong, said, hey, Sonny, you're working for us. You could certainly go work somewhere else, but then I can promise you that you probably won't get any work from us moving forward. So
100%. You know, there was nowhere else to go. Once Vince bought up all the territories and had that big TV out there, you know, Turner competed, because he had the backing. He had the money just like Vince. So he could compete. You know, that was the only two really places out there. Vern Gagne went out of business, AWA, the Von Erichs went out. Lawler and Memphis, Tennessee, they all went out, Mid-South. He bought up all the territories, Florida Championship.
Did you work with the Von Erichs at all?
I've never worked for the Von Erichs. I worked some cards with the Von Erichs and stuff. David Von Erich, when he was in Florida, I worked a couple of cards when he was there. Kerry Von Erich, when he was Texas Tornado, I worked with some of WWF.
I want to ask you about Kerry. So you were around when Kerry was in the WWE.
Yeah, I was. Was
he as messed up as...
Kerry kept to himself. Kerry was, kind of private. He only hung out with a couple of guys. They'd go to the gym, work out. Kerry was in his own world, pretty much.
Something I didn't know, and I'm going to throw some knowledge on you guys. Did you know that Kerry Von Erich almost was the Dolph Lundgren part in Rocky?
I didn't know that.
That
Never
it
knew
was
that.
The final guy.
You will lose?
Dolph Lundgren, sorry. Nikita Koloff,
right,
and Kerry Von Erich, and Fritz didn't want Kerry to take the role because he thought it would ruin his wrestling career.
Wow. Take the role, Kerry.
Film shooting.
Look at all these wrestlers who have made it so big. Look at The Rock, John Cena, all these wrestlers, Roddy Piper. They all, transitioned from, actors, wrestling to acting, and even Hogan, back and forth. Randy Orton, a few other guys, have been Miz. So there's a handful of guys that have, tried to, come out and do some of the TVs and stuff. And a handful of guys have done very well with it. Jesse Ventura, with the Predator and stuff. But like I said, only a handful of guys really make the money. And nobody puts a gun to your head and say, okay, you're only going to make $100,000 this year, or you're only going to make $200,000 or $500,000, whatever the number is.
Well, did you say you were making like $5,000 a week? You said, right?
When I was on the Hogan shows and stuff.
That's some serious cash.
Yeah.
And how long did that last for you?
That's about a month or so, a couple months, when I was on the top cards, wrestling Denver Coliseum or Denver Arena and, the Rosemont Horizon, Chicago, or then you're going to Madison Square Garden or maybe down in the Sun Dome, down in Tampa. Or, you're on these big cards and you're selling out, 15, 20, 30,000 people. You're getting a good percentage of the gate then. But if you're at a little high school somewhere, Ronkonkoma High School in Long Island, and you get 1,200 people there, you might get a $400, $500 payday. And if you're on those shows, it's called the milk run. You're doing the little house shows, civic centers, maybe a high school auditorium, maybe a college gym.
Whistling a guy in a sweater.
Stuff like that, maybe a fundraiser somewhere, You're making $500-$600, and you take your draw, a couple $100 a night to live off of, pay your hotel, pay your rent a car, pay your food bill. By the time you get home, you got, you make $500 that night, and you spend $250 on the day traveling, and then you pay taxes on the $500. It's like, you're turning and burning your money.
But then again, like you said, no one's putting a gun to your head, right?
Exactly. If you didn't want to do it, somebody else is right behind you, ready to take your spot.
Take a shot.
Believe me.
So I was going to ask Steve about this, but since he's off the air, maybe you know something about it. Stevie sued ESPN over using the UWF video.
I wish I would have known when he was doing that, because I would have jumped on that lawsuit too, and I think everybody in the UWF would have done it because they had no rights to it. I don't know who granted them the rights. I know I spoke to Steve Simon many times and other people that are privy to the UWF, Lenny Doog and myself, and the person who sold the tapes to ESPN, and he had no rights to them.
What's the story with the library?
I never signed any of my rights away. I own my trademark, my name, Sunny Beach, and everything else, and I never signed a contract to have my rights or anything.
So the tapes are still with ESPN, Farrell?
Are they?
But it would cost a lot of money to get a lawyer.
There was a 3-judge panel that echoed the conclusion that
interesting.
That ESPN was okay. The only time they had to pay you guys is if they used you to promote videos.
Bless you.
That was bullshit.
Well, that is bullshit because I don't know who got all that money from selling these tapes, and they're distributing tapes now, selling DVDs and all the UWF stuff. People I saw on the internet are trying to sell UWF T-shirts and everything else. Bootleg stuff. It's been going around for, last 100 years. Bootleg Vicar and shirts or fake Louis Vuitton bags or whatever it might be. You go down to Chinatown and you can buy whatever you want, Prada, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, for $100, when you're paying at the store $4,000. But
how does Herb's family feel about this?
They're not happy about it, but Herb's gone, and they don't know who to contact, and it will cost so much to get a lawyer. They don't know who to go after. These people pop up a dime a dozen.
Now, who's Herb Abrams Jr.?
He's nobody. Herb never had any children, so he's just trying to use a name to get rich off.
All right, because I saw that Herb Abrams Jr. Was that his son?
Yeah, it's
You're not going to call him
illegitimate son, maybe. That's one of these hookers got pregnant or something. I don't think he had a kid with anybody. Maybe he's the bastard son.
I can't go with the fact that was your dog on that.
You ruined it for me. Now it's
I'm
ruined.
sorry.
I thought it was his dog.
My dog's a celebrity now. Maybe I could get an Alpo commercial.
I think you might be right.
Mike, you know what? I don't understand, though. You mean to tell me Herb Abrams passed away and the company was left in some sort of limbo where ESPN can just come in and grab it?
He didn't grab it. Someone actually sold them the
Somebody
tape.
else sold them the rights, and I don't know how they got the tapes or the rights.
How did they get the rights? This is insane.
The guy's name is Al Burke, from what I hear. He used to be called Dr. Feelgood, and he wrestled a lot. WWF, he was enhancement talent, and then he came and worked with Herb a little bit. I actually wrestled him at Blackjack Brawl out in Las Vegas. Missy Hyatt managed him, and he put me over that night. And we had a good match, but after that, nobody heard of Al Burke or anything for a couple of years. All of a sudden, I hear he's selling UWF tape to ESPN, and I never got any residuals or nothing like that, and I never signed any contract or any releases to allow my name or likeness to...
Anything you'd like to say to Al Burke right now?
Al, where's my residual checks? I'm waiting.
He took it easy on him. I thought that was kind. That was proper. That was polite. Good job.
I'm a nice guy. I mean, you're not going to change me. You're not going to change my lifestyle. I am who I am, and that's it. Nothing really bothers me anymore.
So if you do it all over again, you'd still be a pro wrestler, though, right?
I'd probably still be a pro wrestler.
Nice.
Maybe I would go into law enforcement after pro wrestling, or maybe during pro wrestling. I don't know if you guys knew this, but the Mongolian Stomper, he was a police officer for many years when he wrestled.
Wow.
And, he would go back on it. There's a lot of other guys in the wrestling business that have been in law enforcement, too. I think Boss Man was a correction officer at Cobb County. So, there's a bunch of guys that, have been in law enforcement or like law enforcement or, I respect law enforcement. My son-in-law is a Nassau County police detective. Yeah. So I've always grew up, loving law enforcement, and I was always taught to respect your cops, firemen, adults. You kids out there, you need to respect your adults a little bit more and your teachers and, do the right thing.
Can you weigh in on what's going on with the police and everything that's happening?
We need help.
Steve's back?
Steve's back.
We need help in this country. And we all need to learn to like each other, get along with each other, and just do the best we can for each other. Help each other. Be a good neighbor. Be a good friend. Be a good family member. And respect others. The key word is respect.
Absolutely. Steve, you back?
Yes. I'm sorry that things went like they did, but I finally ended up getting some good connectivity.
What happened? You got bit by the dog? What happened?
No, I'm operating all this off a cell phone right now, so the phone was like just heated up to the max. So,
don't y'all have any internet out there in Kansas City?
So, Steve, we were talking to Sonny about your case against ESPN and how he wished he would have known about it. He would have joined in. Can you just tell us a little bit about the decision that was waived, that basically that ESPN had rights to the tape, and as long as they didn't ask you to promote it, they didn't owe you any money?
Yeah, okay. First of all, one of the things that a lot of fans probably don't know in detail is that the have, like I heard Sonny say at the end, their due diligence wasn't done to where they could produce a signed release. They didn't have that, and that was became a very strong talking point. And even for settlement power, we had to know exactly where we stood as far as that there would have to be an independent audit, and that through that independent audit, that was going to cost them over $300,000 just for an independent audit. That much money, because it's like 10 years, and you get it, and it's depending on all the markets that it was in, it's different value for each market. So, one of the things we were looking at is what should we do, and I didn't want to settle. I wanted to get to the nuts and bolts of exactly what it was that they didn't do correctly, and in that way, I would be able to get exactly what was promised to me. I didn't want anything more. I wasn't looking for an opportunity here. I just wanted to get what was promised to me, and ideally, if you look at money, Disney's worth, and ESPN and all that, you surely get the picture that what they did was wrong. There was, and it became much bigger than me. That part, I'd like to be able to articulate. I know we could contact my attorney and have him explain it more in detail from his perspective. But there were some things where like I said, my attorney just disappeared on me, and there was for 3 years after he told me that we filed for after they won the very first case, he was going to file for an appeal, and he his coaching to me was we want the appeal, we want the case with the judge, and we want a case with the jury. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting it. That all makes sense. And then he just disappeared for 3 years. So no way of contacting him, no way of reaching him. And then 3 years later, I found him on the internet, and I think through LinkedIn or something like that. And I didn't want to be really confrontational. I just basically wanted to know or understand what happened to the plan that we were going to do. And he just kind of, but I felt like he ho-hummed it and he kind of brushed it off. But then, so I started digging and started research, and from everything that I started, seeing as far as what was produced and what was said, and from my perspective, the lawsuit then became something more. If I would have won, it would have created a case law which would have allowed all these other entertainers to get the same type of benefit, which could have cost Disney a lot of money. And so from there, if you look at the Hollywood Insider that's written on ESPN versus Wild Things TV Ray, you'll see that the way they write the article is as if they beat some big giant, much bigger than them. And they didn't even call me for an interview. This is Hollywood Insider. So, Hollywood Insider, and then I couldn't understand why there was Vince McMahon on the page of it, almost, like two buttons. It all just kind of baffled me. And, this is another reason why, honestly, I didn't want to bring Sonny in on it, because I didn't want, Sonny has a lot of connections and friends and people who he's close to in the business. And I didn't want to take him down that road, and make him feel uncomfortable. So I made it.
Well, that's understandable. Sonny, real quick question, then we got one final question from the Pharaoh.
Yes.
Michael Allen Rubin asked, the matches you and Steve had against the Blackhearts, the chair shots you took, he said those were pretty stiff. What was the deal with that?
No, I worked with Tom Nash up in Calgary and stuff before, so we had a lot of good matches before. That's where I met him up there. And then we came back many years later and wrestled UWF. And we just worked stiff. I mean, we would work stiff up there. There was nothing, other than that, nice, good chair shots. I mean, I give it just like I take it. So, we had some good matches with the Blackhearts.
Farrell, final question for Wet n Wild.
All right, guys. First of all, thank you both for coming on the show tonight. It's been awesome. Outside of the fact that that's not your dog out there, Stevie Ray, that's kind of depressing. But the final,
it's not Stevie's dog.
It's not his dog.
You learned something from this interview.
There we go. It's not his dog. Okay, guys. Finally, the final question: did either of you talk about with each other possibly trying to get the Wet n Wild gimmick to Vince McMahon's WWF?
I never really talked about it. I don't think we were going to bring it to Vince. I think maybe Global or maybe WCW, it would have worked out a lot better.
Okay.
Vince already had the Rockers at the time, and he had a lot of different people. The Beverly Brothers were in there, and he had a lot of tag teams in there, the Young Stallions, Conquistadors. So I don't know if that would have worked at that time, but you never know. I never really talked about it.
Stevie?
Is Stevie with us?
Stevie's gone?
Stevie's
gone. The dog got him.
The dog.
All right, so we lost Stevie.
Does your dog bite? No,
all right,
that is
so
not my dog.
My dog doesn't bite.
Wet n Wild. We got through this. It was a couple technical difficulties.
Thank you, Monty and the Pharaoh.
He's got to get that in.
Sonny carried us through. Steve, if you could hear us out there, thank you. We want to get you into New York and have you guys here together. I mean, that's our.
Hey, we'd love it. I had a great time with Tony Atlas and you guys the last time we were in, and Pat Tanaka, and
that was my last normal meal.
We just had a really good time, and I enjoyed being with you guys. You guys are doing a great job out here, and
thank you.
I always enjoy coming on, so whenever you need me, I'll try to be here for you guys. So you're doing a great job.
The big news, as we were talking, is, and for the fans out there, is we are this close. We're going to be on Amazon.
Very close. I think you're going to get it before the year's up.
Yep, and once that goes on, it'll be exciting news for everybody, and we're marching along, and thanks to people like Sonny Beach, who supports the show. I
think all wrestling fans should support it because you get some of the best talent out here, and everybody loves coming on your show. And you guys are the real deal. You ask every question. There's nothing off limits, and that's what the fans want to hear. And it shows your realty and your real fans, both of you, and you love the business and you're giving back to the community, and that's why I love it.
Well, can I try one question? So this weekend we've got Al Snow.
Right.
Doink and Dink, and then the man that rules the world, Sid Vicious, right?
Very cool.
This is a question I'm going to ask Doink.
Oh,
all right, and I want your personal opinion on this.
Here we go. Go ahead.
I'm going to ask him, did you go down on your wife in clown makeup?
What?
Do you think that's a fair question? Is that something wrestling fans want to know?
I mean,
wait a minute.
Wrestling fans might want to know that. Wrestling fans will ask you anything.
Clown goes down?
If a clown goes down.
The fans want to know if the clown goes down. You are a sick blankety blank.
Like I said, you could ask any question here.
That's true.
Do you think
you're right.
offensive?
We are cutting edge.
You could ask Al Snow about Head.
That's right. And by the way,
we're going to bring up Head and
I
clown
did not
going
know
down.
this. I just learned
family
this
affair
today.
here this week, folks.
Al Snow's ex-wife is holy.
Oh no.
You know her?
I don't even know who you're talking about.
You should ask Steve Ray about his ex-wife.
Well, I did.
She was one of the gladiators.
Was she
gladiators.
really?
Oh
Now?
yeah. He has children with her.
Wow.
Next time you have Steve on,
Not
ask
the
her.
big one from the Fiji Islands. Right?
No, not the big
That's
one.
a
The
glow.
cute one.
The gladiators.
Oh, the gladiators.
American Gladiators.
They're both bad 80s television shows. Like I know any difference between the two.
Gladiators.
They were both terrible. Anyway.
Well, how hot was his wife?
She was pretty hot.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he liked her. He had kids with her, so I guess he was pretty hot.
How long were they together?
These are questions I would be asking.
They were for a few years. I mean, they had kids, so I don't know how long.
They didn't know the clowns, did they?
I don't know if they knew the clowns.
But they had so they had like baby gladiators.
Baby gladiators.
That's pretty awesome.
Gladiators.
Well, no, he was in fitness, right?
Steve did a Power Shack International. I mean, he had a huge fitness company in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's a
Huge.
big fitness company.
Mail order. He had shirts.
And she was one of the gladiators.
One of the gladiators.
The gladiators.
Wow.
So they had baby gladiators. That's pretty kick-ass.
Yeah. So, yeah, he was, he did good for himself.
Final question before we cut out.
Yes, sir.
Your son.
Yes.
Did you ever have interest in getting into the biz?
He did, but I kind of discouraged him.
No, you don't.
It's a tough life, and I could have done a lot more things. Like I could have been a policeman. I could have done pretty much whatever I wanted to do. But I chose this life, and there was a few years that were meek, and I was struggling a little bit, to make it. And first couple of years paying my dues, I didn't know if I wanted to keep going or not, but I stuck through it. And there was nights where I wouldn't get paid. I would set up the ring, I would wrestle, I would tear down the ring, I would go to town, and I wouldn't even have money. I'd make $20 or $30, independent shows, and just to have enough money for gas in the car. So that was the paying the dues part of it. But then when I got to WWF All Japan, I made some decent money. I saved my money.
Yeah.
So, I got to meet my wife when I was wrestling in WWF. I met her at Wagner College in Staten Island. Next week I was wrestling at Madison Square Garden. So it was like, one thing led to, opportunities.
That's got to be a huge effort.
I've been blessed.
Too, right?
I've been very blessed, and I count my blessings every day. A lot of people aren't here right now, like you said, Kamala and so many others that I wrestled with. All my wrestling brothers and sisters that aren't here, God bless them all. And it's a fraternity, and people don't understand that. Once you get the bug or the itch, and you become in the wrestling business, you're there for life.
Well, we'll leave with this. I will tell you, when I first met you, and then I would like when you used to talk about the boys, I could see it in your eyes. And I got to tell you, for someone who's been a fan, there's like a certain level of jealousy. Like, wow, I wish I could have had that kind. Like, I was in the military, right? And I have brothers in that.
Right.
It's kind of the same.
It's kind of the same, but like a college fraternity almost.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like me and my cats. We bond.
Oh boy!
I wasn't in the Army, and I didn't wrestle at Madison Square Garden. What do you want from me?
But you're good to the core.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyway, I want to thank Wet n Wild, Sunny Beach, and Steve Ray.
Nice.
And we'll
thank
be
you for
back
having us
this Saturday with Doink, Dink, Al Snow, and the man that rules the world, Sid Vicious, on a long Saturday.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank everybody.
You bringing me coffee?
You want coffee?
It's a long day.
Yeah.
I want coffee. I want beer. I want uppers.
We're having beer.
I think American Protection Bureau supplies some nice shirts for the boys, so that way they can have a little giveaway for the boys. They always like getting a little something.
I'd like to get these two together in the same room too after tonight, and we got to get Stevie right down here.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's got to happen.
Sid, I want to party. Ask Sid about UWF. Sid worked with the UWF.
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah.
Anyway, you've been watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen here every Thursday out of Indie Music TV. This is Mike Monty.
This is the Pharaoh. Until Saturday.
Wait a minute, though.
What? What did I forget?
You're still the man.
Huh? I'm still the man?
Which is videos debuting right now.
Again?
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
Milli Vanilli.